The Komodo dragon is a creature straight from the age of dinosaurs. It is the largest living lizard in the world, with some adults stretching over 3 meters long and weighing more than 70 kilograms. Their thick, armored skin and powerful limbs make them seem unstoppable on their home islands in Indonesia. They are apex predators, ruling over the wild landscapes of Komodo, Rinca, and a few other islands. Komodo dragons are perfectly built for survival. Their forked tongues flick through the air, tasting for prey. Their jaws are filled with serrated teeth, and their saliva is a dangerous mix of bacteria and venom. These tools help them hunt and kill large animals, such as deer, wild boar, and even water buffalo. Their hunger is legendary. But life in their sun-baked paradise is not always easy. The dragons depend on a steady supply of meat. Without it, their strength, power, and very survival are at risk. What would happen if all the meat vanished from their world? This is the story of what happened when Komodo dragons were left with no meat. A story of desperation, danger, and survival instincts pushed to the edge. One season, something changed on Komodo Island. Suddenly, the usual herds of deer and wild boar were gone. The island, once rich with the smells and sounds of prey, grew quiet. The Komodo dragons prowled their territories, but there was nothing to hunt. Their prey, the very foundation of their lives, had vanished. For the dragons, this was a disaster. Days turned into weeks with no fresh kills. Their bellies shrank. Their movements slowed. The rulers of the island were now desperate, driven by hunger that gnawed at their insides. The balance of nature had shifted, and the dragons were at the center of the storm. No one could say exactly when the last deer disappeared, but the change was clear. The dragons were starving. Scientists and locals watched with growing concern. What would these giant reptiles do, cut off from their food supply? This was not just a test of hunger. The disappearance of meat on Komodo Island did not happen by chance. There were several reasons behind this crisis. Some scientists believe it started with a sharp drop in the number of prey animals. Disease swept through the deer population, and the wild boar became rare. The natural cycle of life had been broken. But it was not just nature at work. Human activity played a role as well. In the past, locals sometimes fed the dragons, especially near tourist spots, to attract visitors. When regulations changed, these feedings stopped almost overnight. The dragons, used to easy meals, suddenly faced a harsh new reality. Climate change added to the problem. Long dry seasons made it harder for prey animals to find food and water. Many died or left the island in search of better places. For the Komodo dragons, the island that once fed them so well had become a desert of hunger. The stage was set for an extraordinary experiment in survival. At first, the dragons waited. They moved slowly, searching the empty grasslands and forests for any sign of prey. Their powerful bodies grew thin, but their instincts stayed sharp. Some tried to dig out small animals hiding in burrows. Others sniffed around the remains of old kills, hoping to find scraps left behind. But hunger is a powerful force. After days with nothing to eat, the dragons grew bolder. They began to fight among themselves over the smallest bits of food. The young and the weak were pushed aside. Only the strongest survived these brutal brawls. Then, something even more shocking happened. The dragons turned on each other. Cannibalism, once rare, became common. Large adults attacked smaller dragons, dragging them into the bushes and tearing them apart. The island echoed with the sounds of jaws snapping and scales scraping in deadly combat. This was nature at its most raw and unforgiving. The hunger did not just make the dragons more violent, it changed their entire way of life. Some began to raid human villages on the edge of the forest, searching for goats, chickens, or even garbage. Doors and fences that once kept the dragons out were no longer enough. The dragons broke through, driven by a need that could not be stopped. Others displayed strange and unexpected behaviors. There were reports of dragons climbing trees, something rarely seen before. Hungry dragons even swam across channels to reach other islands in search of food. Desperation had made them creative, and nothing was off limits. Locals told stories of dragons stalking people, lurking near paths and waiting for a chance to strike. Fear spread as the line between wild and human worlds faded. The Komodo dragons had become unpredictable. their ancient instincts sharpened by starvation. The island was changing fast. Scientists watched the unfolding drama with both awe and concern. They set up cameras and took notes, capturing every moment of the dragon's struggle. Some had never seen such brutal behavior before. They realized that the Komodo dragon's reputation for violence was not exaggerated. It was, if anything, underestimated. Locals, too, were affected. Many had grown up alongside the dragons, respecting their power, but never fearing them. Now, things were different. People warned their children to stay indoors. Livestock was kept under lock and key. The dragons, once a symbol of the wild island, had become a threat that could not be ignored. Researchers tried to help. Some suggested bringing in new prey to restore balance. Others debated whether humans should interfere at all. Every decision was difficult, with no easy answers. The dragons were both a treasure and a danger. But through it all, one thing was clear. The Komodo dragons were showing the world just how powerful and unpredictable nature can be. This extraordinary event taught us many things about Komodo dragons. First, it proved that they are true survivors. When faced with hunger, they did not give up. Instead, they adapted, changed their behaviors, and found new ways to live. Cannibalism, raiding, and even swimming to new islands were all part of their fight to survive. Second, it showed the dangers of changing nature's balance. Removing prey or stopping human feeding had dramatic effects. The dragons were forced to push their limits, and so were the people living nearby. Nature is a delicate web, and one change can have explosive results. Third, the experiment revealed the dragon's intelligence and creativity. These are not mindless beasts, but clever hunters able to solve problems. Their ability to adapt makes them both fascinating and fearsome. Above all, the story reminded us that the wild is never far away. The Komodo dragons have survived for millions of years, outlasting countless other creatures. Their strength, ferocity, and cunning make them legends not just of Indonesia, but of the entire natural world. What happened when they were left with no meat only proved what many already knew. These reptiles are some of the most interesting and dangerous animals alive. Their story is a warning and a wonder. It shows us the power of nature and the risks of tampering with it. It reminds us that even the greatest predators can be humbled by hunger, but also that they will do anything to survive. As long as Komodo dragons walk the earth, there will be stories of their strength and mystery. They are not just survivors, they are icons. The world will never forget the time they were pushed to the edge and fought back with everything they had. In the end, the Komodo dragon's roar echoes across the islands, a symbol of wild power and survival against all odds.